well-dressed one, though.
The crack.
Okay, we are live. This is the unnamed traveling comic book chat, which landed on my channel once again. And to my, over here, we have Rasa. Whoops, I always get this wrong. Over there, Terence. And down below me, we have a new member, Milan, a.k.a. Earl Grey.
Hello.
So now we're representing
Cheers.
4 countries instead of just 3. And 4 times.
Cheers, everybody.
Yeah. But the same water. For me, it's not.
Not gin?
Yeah, you would think, no. I just don't feel like having alcohol lately. I had a beer yesterday, and that worked for me so quickly. I was like, oh my God, what's happening? I just had a pint, like just a glass of it, and I went, whew. I was very happy for like 5 minutes, and after I was like, oh, okay, I know why. Anyway.
I've become addicted to nitro coffee.
Oh my.
So this is the Starbucks version.
Yeah.
Whoa.
It's like a Guinness and a coffee at the same time.
Wow, that's crazy.
That's fancy.
Nothing better to do with my time than drink coffee. Very
And that's
smart.
the local brew over here.
Nice.
It's very famous because of this thing here.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
It's the gimmick. But
Yeah.
What's the name of it?
Save it.
Flensburger Pils.
Oh.
This is Keller beer.
It's sorry,
Special
what
brand.
beer?
No. It's normal Pilsner. Normal Pilsner.
Just a light beer. Lager in England.
When I talk freaky German, in the meantime, it's not because I am German, but I've read this one here, and it makes you.
It's true.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Did we
Yeah,
all
exactly.
read it this week? Is that
So I have not finished it.
Okay.
Me too.
I can only read a small bit at a time. Do we want to dive into talking about it, though? I don't mind having it spoiled. I can only imagine it will end horribly. But
Oh, thank
for our
you
characters.
for my Mother's Day wish. Thank you very much. I'm feeling very proud of myself.
Oh, we got architectural foam panels here. Always great to have him.
Who started making videos, by the way. He has his first video posted on
Yeah.
his channel. So
Oh, really?
go check it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good to know
That's
because
kind of one, but it's great.
Oh, and we've got Gore Vidal calling us youngsters. Terence is wearing a tie, he says. Happy Mother's Day, Rasa.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank
Terence
you.
is the man today, so he put on his purple tie.
Yeah.
Is that purple?
Yeah, it's no, actually, it's pink.
Pink.
It's my
Okay,
favorite
even more
color.
authoritarian.
Yeah.
Right.
He's a brave soul wearing pink,
We salute
I
your
like
pink tie.
I like sitting like this when I'm wearing a suit to really accentuate the lower half of my head,
Yes, push it up.
or like this just to make sure I look nice. It's gonna come off before we're done. Don't worry about it.
And Tim Howlermouse is here. He says, please dive into monsters.
I will go because
Okay,
nobody's
you
saying
can lead the
anything.
way.
This is probably will be, I'll start from the beginning. This is my favorite work of his so far. At first I wasn't absolutely pleased with the art the way it's presented at first, maybe because of the first choice of the scenes, which was a flashback. That's how we start the story. Well, kind of told us like really important part of the beginning of the story. And
Did you like the art on those pages? Because that grabbed me right away, that art.
Well, no, I did enjoy it, but it was so like my eye kind of got used to knowing him what he used to do before, a bit more cleaner and everything.
Right.
But seeing this this 9 grid panels was interesting to see as well in it. But no, it was just a couple of pages in, and then suddenly I was into the storyline, and honestly, I was not able to put it away. I felt this is very gruesome story. Especially because of the subject of no wonder it's called monsters. and the people. And I just before we went live, with me and Sleepy was talking, I was saying to him, I just was like, think of 1946 or 1949 is the time of it, or how it happened, which year it was happening in. So because I was for sure first thing, I started hating the dad straight away. But what he went through, its explanation at the back, like it's going the way the story is written is really interesting as well. You have quite that part of our main character, Bobby, and he's basically life at the beginning and how whatever happens, and it doesn't disclose straight away what really happened to him and why doesn't he have his one eye when he went to basically go into the army, to ask to be like part of the army. And then there's lots of that explanation, and then things just unravel so much in here that honestly I felt kind of like I had to take back. I read this book in about maybe 3 days because I keep on wanting to come back. That's how much I wanted to know actually basically end of the storyline, but just I wanted to just like relax because of the subject it was touching, and it felt kind of like I was so sad most of the time. I never felt that there was any relief in the storyline. I think it did not supposed to have because of whatever subject you wanted, like how you wanted to tell the storyline. And I'm surprised that the writings. I mean, I have not read anything written by him. Basically, what I'm trying to say, and this is really flawless to me. I actually felt no problem to go through pages. I was not really confused. The only thing I was confused maybe just understanding the flashbacks, but he was explaining as well that to us anyway in this book. So when you finish reading the book, it was satisfying. Like you got everything, whatever you like had questions, especially me. I started questioning every single time when I read something, and I got those answers, and I was like, I was thinking, will you step forward? Did I feel even worse about it? And all the time throughout the book reading of this book, I really wanted a good ending, but I knew it's not going to happen. I just wanted this, like, I mean, it kind of had a good ending, to be honest. It had that kind of like, like, okay, it's going to be kind of in a way okay, but it still didn't feel like this Bobby, monster of ours, who's struggled throughout his existence, to be honest. I just felt so sorry for him. Yes. And I was like so emotional because of that. So, but as all the product, as the book itself, as we comparing different, this is like a Penguin UK production. There's a Fantagraphics print who you guys probably have. So it's, apparently it's different paper stock and it's a bit lighter.
Yeah, I saw that on Tim on Howlermouse's Friday live stream. They were talking about how that one is lighter than the US Fantagraphics one. Yeah. Which version did you get, Milan? Was that the US or the British?
Jonathan Cape, but it's Fantagraphics as well, yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Fantagraphics, yeah.
Yeah, so I have the Cape one, the Jonathan Cape book. And
also, it says Fantagraphics, copyright Fantagraphics, Jonathan Cape book. Okay, I have yours here.
Yeah. So, and I don't know, the production of the book itself, the cover, everything feels fantastic. I really liked that, like you don't have gutter lost. It's like that's the most important thing, especially of the artist caliber. And honestly, I was telling you about that I wasn't really into this art at the beginning, but then the more I was reading, the more I was in awe of him, because knowing, like the emotion and the mother in this is so heartbreaking. I don't know if Damien, you have touched her letter writings. When you start reading the letter, it's just
I have hit those, yeah.
Yeah. So those letters for me, it just felt like I started to get to know her even more, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna kill that dad. I want to go through the book, and I'm gonna, help her to somehow get that strength and leave him, and all that stuff. So.
Right. It was interesting at the beginning. The first few letters, she was obviously in denial from what we saw, but then she became more and more upfront about what was really going on. It's
while she's writing, she's realizing what's happening, and the more you have that, you still believe in the past, in the future. That she was still thinking that she wanted to have, Yeah.
That's,
Yeah. She wanted to have that kind of like, she still wanted to remember that husband before the war happened. And she just still believed because she's trying to be good, like she was waiting for him for that long, kind of thing, and not knowing what's happening with him, and that hope she had. She still hoped for more, but unfortunately, Jesus, she should have done it so much earlier and stuff. So yeah, it's one of the, I think I will be, if I wanted to recommend something for people for Barry Windsor, I'm definitely going to say go for it if you want to actually get to know the artist and now writer. He's really good writer, in my opinion now. But it's just me, that's what I felt about this book. Really loved it, for sure.
Do you want to add to that, Terence? Thoughts on the book?
Beyond that, like, it's an incredible book. I read it in kind of 3 different sittings. It's pretty rare that a book will literally have me say something out loud and have to put it down and walk away from it. There was like 3 moments in here where it was just so impactful the way that it was written that I really had a couple of moments of like, oh, and just literally like just making a noise out loud and having to put it down and walk away for like 5 minutes. Like, there was some things like when she first discovers his letter after he left, that hit me like a rock. Like that completely just hit me. It's like, the first thought is his suicide letter. You know what I mean? Like when McFarlane has that letter there. And there was a couple of other moments like that. And I watched Gore Vidal's video this morning. One of the things that struck me on watching Gore Vidal's video is that our main character, his only happy moment, it seems, in his entire life is when he's accepted into the military. You know what I mean? He's so ecstatic about that and what that means. Once you read through the whole story, his relationship with his father and everything, it makes it even more kind of sad about his life, that he's just really grasping onto something where he has this feeling of acceptance and everything, right? So it's a harrowing tale, man. Like, and the thing that I also really liked about it, being called monsters and stuff, there's so many moments where, because I don't know if this happened for anybody else, but I had a turning point with the father figure where I hated his guts, hated him, disgusting. And I don't know if it was one specific passage, but there was a moment where I just felt so sorry for him. Like, I just had this really deep sense of like, man, this guy has clearly witnessed something that has just completely destroyed him. And then, of course, makes you think about people that serve in the military and people that have experienced these kind of intense moments and what's happened to them when they come home, what kind of help they get to kind of deal with what they've seen and experienced, and how there literally isn't anything and they're just thrown back into their lives. Like, I found myself feeling really, really sorry for him. So this idea of presenting some of these characters as kind of monsters and then looking behind the curtain a little bit to realize, oh, they're just enormously damaged, doesn't make him, not that his actions are justified by any stretch, but and I think that's a really down to his writing that he was able to pull that off and really spend some time, because the letter writing in when we went to the past, that's such a huge chunk of the book, but I don't see how else you could do that. If you shortened it, I don't know if it would have the same impact, because you're just in that world, you're in that past for such a long period of time and getting into all these nooks and crannies. I love it. I thought it was phenomenal read, and the ending I thought tied up really, really nice. Like, the only part that I thought was a little bit thin was kind of when we kind of go to the father's past and we see what he's experienced. It was interesting, but I thought it was a little thin. I don't know if that would have been fixed by digging into it deeper. I don't know if there was any necessity for that, but it felt a little, I mean, I guess you have to have one kind of pure evil in the story, right? And I think for me, because I had this feeling that we were looking at monsters who weren't totally monsters and getting a little bit of backstory, you just eventually came to this part where it's like, no, here's the pure evil. Here's just evil. And then we're just going to go from there, like having some base to ground you on, right? Which I understand. I get why you would want to do that. I don't know a solution to it, but that was the only thing. And that's a minor complaint, because I don't think it detracted from the story. It did pull me out of it just a little bit. But for the most part, like, I was fully absorbed. I was, you know, the last sitting when that was when I read the biggest chunk. And again, like just a couple of moments of like, oh my God, put it down for 5 minutes, come back to it again and keep reading, you know, let it digest and stuff. So, I mean, that's the mark of a killer storyteller, man. I was really, really impressed. And the art I thought was beautiful. I'm not as versed in Barry Windsor Smith. I know his stuff, but I can't say that I'm kind of coming from a place of being a classic, a big time fan. But immediately, and I think you showed it already, Damien, these pages like page 2 and 3, this is what solidified it, like right at the beginning, those perspectives and the lighting and stuff and the way he's using those word balloons. I was taken right there. That's what hooked me. And then the rest, I was completely on board. And some of the pages, just getting into some of the pages and the layouts, unbelievable, man. Like unbelievable and beautiful detail and, you know, the whole 9 yards. Really just gorgeous art. Very, very impressed. Yeah, that was another kind of harrowing moment where he's just sitting in the room and just staring at his right, got the gun to his head. It's like, dude, man, you know, it's a troubled man there. Anyway, yeah, that's my 2 cents to it.
Just to add the father's bit where we had an explanation about what really happened, I think it was too short, to be honest, to get full, like, kind of understanding where he's coming at, but maybe it's just the ongoing war and just seeing all the time and just realization of all those body parts at first, the room that we've been shown, the stuff where it happens, but it's just like, it was sad for me as well, but I couldn't let it go because of, you know, they don't, you don't know what's happened behind you. You don't communicate because of certain situations. Basically, all the people, all the characters who were involved in the storyline, they all together kind of thing. They all mesh up. They just because of circumstances, this person, that person, and just like a domino effect, you know, like that horrible domino effect. There's one thing happens, and it escalates to this enormous, like horrifying picture, like almost like a atomic bomb, like because that one person met that one person, and that's what happens to Bobby, and that's just not right. Kind of like, oh come on, I'm like a mother. It's like, I'm so angry. I want to do help. You know, there's really helpful thing in Mother's Day now, but this honestly, you have a child, and the first thing you read about a child is just becomes that moment where you, please somebody help that one, you know, that officer Jack, whoever there was the good guy in the storyline, he's the one like, come on man, just do it, don't be afraid, you're already there kind of thing. Just, you know, like have a little bit more guts in there. But yeah, that's what, you know, I like that kind of thing in the book, which gives me that much like passion in a way of, you know, like just helping the characters. It's just the fictional characters, but I want to help, you know, kind of thing. So in that sense.
Just one last thing. Sorry, just one last panel. If you could make
well,
a big
not the last, because Milan and I should probably say a few words too.
Yeah, no, for sure. Just before I let go of the mic, as I meant to say. This is one of the panels that broke me. Literally, like broke me down to tears when she the mother just kind of, it looks like she's whispering it and just help me. When her brother and his wife comes, like. That was a point I had to close the book for a minute, and I was in tears, like, because it's just so well done. They're just having this conversation, and you're seeing the background conversation, and it's written so kind of lightly and small that I was just completely taken by that. And again, one of the things that it just has a different impact in a comic where it's like, oh my God, you know, like this is it, you know, and of course, you know what's going to happen after that, or you get a sense that things are going to kind of peak at that point. So yeah.
You want to throw out any thoughts you had, Milan?
I want just to add this panel that Terence mentioned. The panel afterwards, the combination. His wife says, "Please help me," to her sister-in-law, and afterwards she pretends everything is normal again. Yeah, she has this normal face, and I mean, the combination of these two panels show just how fragile this person is in a perfect way. For me, I was not so in this. Yeah, no.
Different.
Wait, it's when it all comes to. Wait. Damn.
Well, you don't have to show the panels. So it's just.
Yeah.
It's
page
Terence 242.
242.
Oh, it's
242.
far ahead of where I've read.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I was just. Yeah, here. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. Oops. Also. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's difficult. Help me, and then afterwards she
Yeah.
puts a smile on her face, and I saw adults do things like that as a child, and wonder why, keeping up the facade, and so to speak. Yeah, but I was actually absolutely not in a graphic novel mood. So much drama and sadness, but I wanted to read that book, especially since I know that I was invited here, so I have to say the first 30 pages or so were a bit dense. And then okay, the Nazis again, and. I totally get it, but there's some stuff that rubs me a bit the wrong way. Just to get this out of the way, and afterwards I praise the book to the highest level. But always pretending that the Nazis were these scientific evil, okay, but science overlords who knew everything.
That's a comic book cliche, right? We always have the evil Nazi scientists who are now in South America or here in the United States.
They didn't know nothing. Hitler believed that the universe is basically made out of frozen masses. There's even a theory called world ice theory or something like that. Scientifically, there were really just not to mention everything that you could kill people with, but else. So these whole myths, when it's done in Mignola style, so cartoony and exaggerated and so on, okay, that's fun. But when it becomes more realistic, but that was just my skepticism, and I got the book yesterday. The day before yesterday, and now I'm almost 50 pages before the end, so that it says everything. That when you are in this book, it's just fantastic, and the art is splendid, especially since he did it over 30 years or so, and to keep the stuff so consistent. You mentioned the letters before. Yeah, no, I had to put a bookmark in.
No, could be.
But here, this page. On the one page, you see the silent sequence of panels with the father.
Yeah.
Just what a rotten bunch of sick meat and totally disturbed and victim and
that's a brilliant page.
It's brilliant. And on the other side, on the other page, so you see the mother rehearsing her speech, how she want to sell this incident with Bobby when he left his eye, left his eye to the 3 times the same description, and you see that it's all a lie, and that's so perfectly done. It's by accident in a way, but another graphic novel of mine is my favorite thing is Monsters. Totally different thing, still Nazis in it, but it comes close. I would say it's a great book. I think in some places the metaphysic stuff. That's I don't know if he really had to use that, but and sometimes it's a bit wordy and but as you put it out or said it, it's hard to tell which page to leave out.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I want to know what happens after that, and so I was a bit impatient.
I think you bring up a good point, though. I'm curious to hear more of your thoughts on that, like that metaphysical element. I didn't get detracted from the story. I don't know what it would have been if it wasn't there, like that McFarland and his daughter. What do you have more thoughts on that as you explored that idea there?
As I said it, I haven't read the last 50 pages. Maybe it will come back eventually.
Comes to head for sure, yeah. But even leading that, was there anything that did you think it added to it? Did it kind of take you out of the story a bit, or what were you?
No. But I think it was not necessary in a way. Maybe.
So I haven't got
I sort of agree with that too. Yeah.
Oh, now I have an echo. So I'm the one who I had the most trouble with this. So I'm only 180 pages in. I could not read very much at a time. It was too dense, and it. You know how a lot of stories will hit a mood here, a few pages later hit a different mood? It was like hitting a mood and then hitting the same mood even harder, and then hitting it even harder, and then hitting, so that each few pages you're just going deeper and deeper into the same thing. And I found that hard to read all at once. Like the individual beats were brilliant, but one after another was more than I wanted to read all at once. So I think with people going around talking about what a masterpiece this is, I think there are some people who will read it and find it a hard one to get through. I feel like Chris, Chaos and Comics, was asking if it felt like it was written over a real long period of time, and it, so far from what I've read, it doesn't. So it feels like maybe he worked and reworked it and refined it more and more, rather than wrote a little 20 years ago, then a little more. And I do know originally there was a Hulk story where he established the concept of Bruce Banner being abused by his father, that Marvel then put into a drawer. And then Bill Mantlo peeked into the drawer and saw that plot idea and stole it, which then ruined it for Barry Smith ever doing that for Marvel. And then it moved around. So I think the concept of the story maybe has evolved several times as it moved to several different publishers, rather than just being something that he worked on steadily from page 1 to page 360 over those years. That's my sense of it anyway. But it feels like a heavily worked, I mean, every page feels heavily worked and overworked, you might say. I mean, his last work, the trend of Barry Smith's art had been getting less detailed. Like if you go from the Conan stuff, then to the stuff he did at Valiant, and then the stuff he did at Dark Horse and Barry Smith, the Storyteller, there's a lot more space on the page. And this is a new style for both going back to his old sort of heavy style, but also a new style there. The density of every line and everything on the page. And it's almost to me like he's a new person, because the Valiant and the Storyteller is stuff he wrote also, but it's light and funny and it's airy fantasy. And this is the flip side of that. It's the heavy, oppressive side of fantasy. And yes, and the humans are the monsters, and we are never forgetting that throughout.
No.
And I assume, because I haven't read the whole thing, that it will get back to the African-American officer who has the second sight or whatever, and his family. And I was very interested in that, but that section also bogged me down. His attempts to explain things to his wife just went over and over again, where he couldn't explain it to her, but he tried. He couldn't explain it to her and tried.
But,
and I also questioned the black English in that section. I'm not sure that was really on the mark there.
I think the stigma, would you believe in that time that you would explain to somebody that you have second sight? You know, they're all this kind of like explanation that you have some extra abilities, especially being African American, and then even do explain that to your own wife, who is completely religious. And the religion part, you know, like that kind of stuff is just no. You know, you can see her, like she's going back every single time I explain. She just thinks he's a crazy man, and he's keep on trying to explain. And even like his own daughter, where we find out what she's kind of integral part as well of this storyline. She's trying to do the same to the mother, and mother, she's just shutting her down, and you like believe somehow, you know, like she's there, she's kind of like doing this stuff to you, and kind of think surely she's not that crazy suddenly, you know, like just because, you know, whatever happens to dad. But I think that helped me. I think I really enjoyed that family. I think it kind of gave me a different focus, and I really liked that it was a kid who were also 2 children, you know, the family with children, and his absolute, like what he did to Bobby by just recruiting him, and he's saying, "Oh, are you the perfect person?" And then everything, whatever rattled him when he was going downstairs in his basement and started to, you know, going through his comic books and reliving the childhood he was, who he is, and then finding that comic book, essential part, that part where he had that comic book and who signed it for him and how he tried to explain who designed it to him. That I absolutely loved it, because it does explain to you afterwards in the comic book in later stages, which is perfect, because it just gives you that, oh, you talk about this one, you put the story family in the storyline, but wait, you know, just flip more pages, you understand why. And then just that little, as I say, that little circle of these people, and it just, you know, like that's, I didn't find it was just because they had that element of like, you know, like something they foresee or something, but they really haven't, because the way he's tried to explain what they see is like kind of, it's a jar, like it's jarring, especially that moment, because of the era they were living. And I think that's really integral part of the storyline, because we need to remember this, not this time, because it's really easy, you know, like while you're reading it in this time, this book, you kind of not like, even though it's presented for you in the past and tells you the dates and everything, I think for me, I start to keep to remind myself it's in that time. You know, like I'm not really imagining it, because I'm too young to say I was living through that part-time or read the history books, which I wasn't never interested in. But I think it's kind of important to understand that what time era we were living at and what's happening. So
it feels to me like that metaphysical part might have been a leftover from kind of the original Marvel script. And it's also funny to think about, like McFarlane with his second sight or anything, he sets this whole thing in motion, right? Like it's literally he's the linchpin at the beginning, which was interesting as well too. There was another nugget that I had there, but I've since lost it. There was something else, but I can't remember. Yeah.
It's kind of, I mean, it's fascinating that this came out of commercial comics, because he kind of has reinvented his own personal way to do comics here, right? It's not really like anyone else at all at this point, except for those little lingering elements like the evil Nazi scientist and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I kept waiting for for Bobby to start jumping around like the Hulk or something.
Yeah.
They mention how strong he is, but he never even shows it on the page, at least as far as I've gotten. Maybe they're saying that at the end.
At some pages, I thought a bit of Howard Chaykin in terms of the drawings. I mean, these drawings are better. I feel a lot better, like your usual Howard Chaykin comic. But some pages looked a bit like him, and he has a bit of this. He has some facial types. I think.
I see what you mean on the facial types.
That repeat and repeat. And I looked again in this old book of him, Young Gods. When you open the page, you see Jack Powell, and you see all the characters, but with different names, because he drew the same guys and ladies again. So he has a limited. That's not a problem. I mean, many artists. So I'm a bit nitpicking, but when you mentioned the moment when he went into a cellar and ripped his comics, I felt that.
That was tough.
Yeah, then I had to stand up and, but no, not the time for silly jokes. This book is really good. Yeah.
Especially those ripping comic books he was doing. In this day and age, if you have that comic book, you would be having a heart attack. Somebody do that, especially.
It would be like ripping money. Yeah.
Yeah. Or putting on fire, like, oh, look at me, I'm so bright. That is in flames. Yeah. But yeah, this book, as I say, you can nitpick anything, and overall, and I think it would be very interesting if further along, when this book is going to be published, and it's been a couple of years later now, how they will be describing or taking people to wanting to pick this up, how you advertise it. And I was always thinking how you advertise it, because as you, Damien, was saying, it's really hard topic. It's continuous throughout, doesn't have really much of relief. But wondering how they will do it, because I think this book is not for one sitting. If you can, take your time and read along and digest. I think this is really good, because it's a lot of things happening in story, and it's kind of dense, like we were saying. But I'm hoping this is going to go well, because after so many years to produce a book, and I don't know, I hope he's going to continue, because I want something more now. Maybe a bit more cheerful. Maybe don't go that kind of subject. Maybe, hopefully not going to take that long as well, but maybe it's just the kick he needed. Like maybe just to see for himself if people still knows who he is, because, like when you're not at work anymore, not doing whatever you've been doing for, or what you're known for, especially your name on. So yeah, I'm looking forward. Hopefully,
it's obviously been selling well, because you can see that everyone's got it. So I hope that encourages him to do more, because I caught the end of that interview he did live on that Comic Book Store's Comic Book Club channel, and I heard him say he drawing was so hard, this was it. This was the end. This was his last thing. So I wonder if he's kind of a gloomy person and says that, and then will change his mind. That's what I'm hoping. Of course, he's not.
I remember the nugget I had from before. I watched a half an hour of the kayfabe guys talking about it, and that's all I could watch, because they were driving me a little crazy, to be honest. But that's a different video. But one of the things that they were saying in there that did resonate with me, the idea of, because I think Gore Vidal said it too in the chat, that if that metaphysical element wasn't there, it would be even darker. You know what I mean? Like, which I kind of agree with Gore. I would have enjoyed that as well too. Like, the idea that kayfabe guys were saying is, you're spending whatever 11 years, 13 years, 15 years, whatever the actual years, were meditating basically on this really dark and really deeply disturbing story about a family. I mean, just that headspace to be in for that long, which almost ties in with what you're saying too, Damien, this kind of darker kind of person, and maybe a little depressed, and whatever it is. Those are my words purely. That idea, I mean, there's something about the beauty of some of these stories that are really harrowing, and that are really dark and kind of disturbing in a different kind of way, not in kind of this visceral way, even though that's there as well too, but this just deeply kind of, I can't imagine being a creator and sitting with that and drawing these pages and going through that, like the emotional impact on him as a creator as he's putting pen to paper and putting this book together. It's something to think about for sure. Like that has a different kind of impact on the story, right? So
yeah. Well, there was, I can't remember which it was, because there was some books by him called Opus, and then there was some other books that had the storyteller stuff and some incompleted pages and things like that. And I got them out of the library, so I just don't remember what they were, where I read it. But in one of them, it was pretty clear he was having a mental breakdown and that he couldn't draw anymore and stuff like that. So I feel like maybe he went through some deep psychological issues and came out the other side more of an outsider artist, instead of this sort of paragon of mainstream comics that he originally was.
Right.
And so maybe when he sees that he's succeeding by doing this radically personal outsider art, that'll encourage him to go back to it. I hope.
Mhm.
Okay.
So
And on
Scott
that
says
note-
Opus Volume 1 and 2 were just art books. So it was something else where they tried to give you a little more of those storyteller books and then essays from him on what he would have done if he kept going or something like that.
Which the storyteller, which I did find a couple of issues at my favorite Red River bookshop. I haven't
Nice.
read them yet, but they're freaking enormous, and it's gorgeous stuff to see. I see that Howler Mouse is talking about them as well too. That I think it was Howler Mouse talking about how the art, visually mesmerizing, but the story very spotty from what his memory is. And that's the impression from me so far, just flipping through the books. It's amazing art. It showed up on my Twitter feed. I can't remember who, Comrade Comedy was pulling some images, and these were a couple of pages that he posted as well too. Just a phenomenal stuff for the size of the pages as well, right? So beautiful. But yeah, this is on my agenda to read this week. I'm hoping I can read through these two this week.
So my memory of reading them in the early 2000s, because I read them all month by month or however often they came out, was that they started off really good and then then the stories started to meander and lose direction as the series progressed. Because Storyteller has like 3 different stories in each issue that are each continued into the next issue. Had you ever read those, Earl?
No.
Or not Earl, sorry, Milan.
Yeah,
It's hard not to think of you as Earl.
Milan, or your lordship.
Lord. Your High Lord Earl. Your High Lord Grey.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just stuck with me. I haven't thought deeply about my name, just as you all did, I think. No?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, I've spent
just
years
happened.
explaining to people there's no particular significance of the 666.
666, yeah.
Because I was not thinking about it. I was just YouTube asked me for a number, so I stuck that in there.
Yeah.
Really? They ask you for numbers as well in your name?
There must have been someone
there must
else,
have been
even though they
another
don't have a
people.
channel, who named themselves Sleepy
Oh, I see.
So then
Okay,
they
yeah,
asked me for a
some-
number.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Reader. If we're the Justice League, I want to be Wonder Woman.
Yo, come on! I'm the only female here. Give me the woman part. Okay, I'll be the Flash for God's sake. Then I'm so quick.
So I mean, do we recommend overall? I think maybe we recommend it. What are your thoughts? I mean, I strongly
give-
recommend it to people.
Me too. It's actually quite mind-boggling that it is so cheap to what it is. How many pages,
An
and
incredible
it's
deal.
really just for that. Just go buy it. It's not gonna be like when you splash out on omnibuses and you splash out that kind of money. And sometimes not every time you get what you want, like maybe something you didn't want to get. But this, for the price, is definitely worth to. Even hardback, especially, like the price of trade paperback is usually that kind of thing. So for hardback, and this edition is really nice.
In fact, they list it over here already at some places for 40 euros, not 25. Yeah.
They're raising the price.
Yeah. It would be a reasonable price, but it's nevertheless.
They're making a lot of extra profit that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the popularity
I
of
paid
it.
25 euros. Yeah.
I have a warning for people picking up the Fantagraphics version, which has this beautiful matte finish to it.
Mhm.
It's absorbent, and I put it down on a table that had butter on it, and it absorbed the butter right into the. And I tried washing it off, and it only made it worse, and all kinds of stuff
bummer.
flaked off.
Yeah.
So most books you can kind of wipe off, but this is an absorbent.
Yeah.
Why there was butter on a table in our hallway, I'll never know.
Maybe it's time to have a conversation.
I'm tired of nagging a certain someone about what they do with food.
Where to put their butter? Yeah.
It's for food.
I imagine some buttered toast was put down upside down on this.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. It's interesting how this do printing difference looks. Thankfully they didn't change the cover. That would bug me because if you produce a book, produce it the right way. But yeah, this is much slicker. This edition I got. The paper is, and apparently it's lighter because of the paper. But I love the paper. It has that. It's not like of course newspaper, but it has that nice feel to it as well. But yeah, as an edition, it's open so nice, like we talked about. It's beautiful to look at. It doesn't have those, it's flawless. You got a loss, and then no got a loss as well. So if you have a gripe on that point, but
good beautiful. Binding is always the most important.
I feel at home here, talking about paper and binding.
Yeah, we tend to mention that we have gripes on those kind of things.
Oh, it's important, man.
Yeah.
So do you want to move on and then start with our guest as he can walk us through maybe something he's read this week?
Okay. I don't know
if you had time to read anything else.
What this makes out of me, but or what you would think of me, because this is the book I've enjoyed the second best the last week, because you talked about this one here last week, and I've watched Terence's video about wrapping up and talking about the main parts of the show. And when I saw this, I remembered seeing this book here at some places, but never got it. And when Terence is raving about something, I always have the itch to see if this has to be something for me as well. And when he mentioned that it's a silent comic, then I looked up for Spanish or French or something version. And in this paper here around, it makes it even more undergroundy for me. I can't read Spanish, but El fumetto que en perro. It sounds so fitting to this book here. And you can, of course, remove it. And for all of you who, I don't want to talk about this book too much because obviously you have praised it the last week. But for all of you who can't get the English version, this is the Spanish version. It's a real nice hardback and fantastic paper.
Wow.
And it looks almost like it's made out of
it's
pretty difficult to find some
something.
No,
it's fine as long as Terence keeps his shirt on. We'll get our rating.
Yeah,
we
are on Sleepy Reader's channel, I thought. So strangling octopus is okay, I guess. No sex, but dead animals. Okay. But yeah, it looks like it's made out of originals painted with felt pans. And it's so beautiful and soon binding and everything.
Nice.
And under 20 euros. And
wow.
Oh, wow.
Including package. So I think it's a fair deal.
Oh, yeah,
even though it's a fast read, obviously. Because you read it this way. It was really fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I wonder whose channel I learned knocking on the hardback, because I definitely learned that on YouTube somewhere.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, I wonder where that originated from, because for me, it originated from you, Damien, 100%.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
And I remember picking it up from somebody, but I just don't remember who anymore.
I mean, Ghost Critic, maybe?
Could
maybe
be.
Ghost Critic. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe Custom Bromstar.
Yeah, because they used to have those chats as well. I think I remember him knocking on one of the books, and I was like, "Oh, okay, that's actually describes." And we were having a laugh while we were describing that.
Yeah, I wasn't there from the beginning. I mean, it was a comic. Terence asked me somewhere in the comments, "Why don't you start your own channel?" And I thought, why not? And then I tried.
Yeah.
These little things have spread like memes, probably far beyond anyone who knows who any of us are. Is now knocking on our backs.
That's cool.
You want to go next, Terence?
Sure. Why don't we talk about this one? The Garden of Desire. So still in my kind of
I love that title.
NBM sim book, whole fixation. So a couple of things that I read this week. There's another one that I'll talk about later. Was kind of a collection of short stories. So this is by Will de Berg. Not familiar, and it's kind of. It's sort of tales about this guy who's kind of classic ladies' man, I guess, and the kind of the stories that involve kind of his relationships throughout his life. And it was actually really entertaining. There was yeah, I mean, I don't know what it says about relationships on the whole, but it's definitely presented in a certain way. And it's kind of the book is presented in a way of this is kind of, I'm going to tell you the story of my life as this famous philanderer. I guess I can't think of the word right now, but and just kind of these instances that he had with these women. But then there's almost kind of these crime elements to it where there's these twists and turns with the relationships. Some other kind of agendas crop out from the relationships and the stories, and what certain people want to get out of him versus what he wants to get out of things. His reluctance to kind of enter into a long-term relationship and stay with his ways of a man shouldn't be tied down to one woman kind of thing. It was a really enjoyable read, actually. The first couple of pages had me hesitating just because of the way that it was presented. But once I got into kind of the second story there, it really took a nice turn for me, and I ended up really enjoying this quite a bit. I don't know how much. I don't know how it would resonate with a bunch of different readers, but it's right in my wheelhouse right now as far as stuff that I'm reading. I'm really enjoying going through all of these Comcat and Cinebook, etc., NBM books. It's a beautiful style of art as well too. I really like it.
I really like the colors too.
Yeah, I love these chapter breaks where we get kind of these double page spread with some color matched with a black and white background, the real simple line work and stuff. Really, really nice, like really enjoyable read. So yeah, another one that oh yeah, Paulo, see, and I'm hoping that it was here too, Mind the Comics, but I don't know if I've seen him yet because I don't know anything. I haven't done any research into the creator to see what else he's done. But yeah, if you see this, I'd recommend it. Really solid read. Enters a whole bunch of different areas and really, really nice. Yeah.
So do we know what that was translated from? What language or country originally?
Let's see. It says the original edition was Belgium, 1988, and then English translation was 1991. And yeah, NBM was the publisher, so the erotica line was a sub of NBM. Oh, so you have
Milan
it. Yes,
has the same book in German.
There you go.
Nice sunset. I agree. The coloring is really what elevates the book here.
Yeah,
I have this for ages. I think it's from 1990. Yeah. Old soft cover. Here's another one of the same creators.
Oh.
The artist Will and Desberg. I don't know his pre-name. It's about love affairs in the Third Reich. So,
are there any incredible scientists?
Contrasting our dear mustache guy and the stuff that's more interesting. Yeah, but honestly, I can't tell you too much because it's really ages since I've read it.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Well, that's good to know. I'm gonna have to search for him some more, and I have to look for more of his stuff because that was enjoyable. It was a really read.
Mm-hmm.
So you just found that at a bookstore, Terence, or did you order that online?
No, this was part of the stuff that I got from the local guy, Greg, my comic dealer. He had the magazine list that came out, and it had a ton of kind of these European albums and French and Spanish, etc., from all sorts of publishers, and I just grabbed them all. Anything that I didn't have, I just bought them all. So that was from that stack. Still, I'm still working through it. There's still another stack of books here that I have to eventually make my way through from that chunk of books that I bought from him.
The dealer of yours is like living enough you, huh? I'm surprised he's not offering you more. Like, come on, just come, go get some more stuff for me.
He's good at sending out lists. Like, he sends out some good ones. And now that I know him now that I know him a lot better, because when I go to see him, we always end up hanging out for a good half hour at least and just chatting and things. And I traded books with him and stuff, giving him stacks. He's always asking, hey, do you have anything new that you want to trade in? And here's another list. So he's really good at at this point, he knows what I'm into, so he's not shy of sending me stuff. Yeah.
Jealous. Basically what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Well, all of you just gotta move here. I'll hook you up with my dealers.
We're all moving to Winnipeg.
That's right. We got lots of space.
Are you sure you have lots of space? Texas, the whole Texas, I think it's not gonna be shoved up there.
Let's not move all of Texas. We really don't. We really want Texas to stay in Texas. Sorry, Earl.
Yes.
Gore. Just have Gore move.
Right.
Go on.
No, go ahead, Rasa.
No, nothing else to add.
I was just going to say, do you have something you want? Did you have time to read something other than monsters this week?
Oh, yeah. I have a few things I've been reading. Actually, I was in the mood, but because of what month we are in and whatever date we have passed, I never done it. I've never read it. And I was like thinking, because of course I don't have dealers like Terence does, like 5 minutes and he's going to get a book. But I went and delved into Star Wars universe. This one, I kind of researched because of May the 4th, like all that time of a month. And I was thinking, I've never read Star Wars comic. But I was researching to see what's really good reading. And apparently this Dark Empire trilogy is a good read. But what I was intrigued by is Cam Kennedy. There's an artist in here. So I'm going to just show you a couple of first pages. It's nice painted covers apparently they had. But that's what kind of style of art we see in this. So it's not very conventional color schemes.
Right.
But the artistry of machinery or this comic presents is mind-boggling, to be honest. The man's eye for detail, I don't know if it's copied, I don't know how he did delve with this situation. But honestly, it's really beautiful to look at, especially space battles like what you presented here. But the color scheme is fantastic and the character seems to be really interesting. I mean, I know the characters. I mean, there's nothing new for me because I watched the movies, but I was wanted just to experience this in different light, I guess, because I've seen all the Star Wars were presented in those nowadays ones, which is written in Marvel recently, which I saw from people in the YouTube. But this is really something different.
That's incredible looking. Even the backgrounds on that previous page there behind the Millennium Falcon, like unreal. I've never seen this.
So I wasn't, as I say, I'm not very versed in the Star Wars universe as well. I'm more Star Trek-y person, so I apologize straight away to whoever got offended by that stuff. But hey, I'm a Star Trek person. But Star Wars is all because I'm curious. It's also a comic book form. So I really wanted to basically explore a bit more of the stuff. And yeah, that's the story so far is very good. We're having troubles with Luke Skywalker because he's going to the dark side. He's going his daddy's roots in here, and Leia is trying to help him. Leia is married to Solo as well, and like married life, and Solo is struggling because he's kind of jumping between two siblings, really. And also helping rebels. But honestly, if it's not for the art, I don't know if I would kept that. reading. I mean, but I'm enjoying it. It's a very good combination. So yeah, I'm very surprised, and I'm thoroughly enjoying what I'm reading. So there was something completely different. So after starting to read Monsters was enjoyable, as I said that before, but I needed something completely different, absolutely different from the storylines and everything else. So really loved it. And actually, you know, if you do want to see something different, especially in Star Wars universe, it's really cool. I think this creator is really great, especially is able to invoke the emotions and things, and also, I mean, the scenery is pleasant, and it's not always the same color schemes. Like you have yellows, blues, and greens, but I like to see it. They taking a different spin in creating something different, so to see it. So yeah. So I didn't read that much. I mean, like 100 pages in, but it's like 380 something pages. The storyline is the first story, I think, or is the whole trilogy? I don't really know. I just have to, like, I had May the 4th, okay, and I was like, I've never done that, you know, like, kind of, okay, let's go and just read something. And yeah, it's really helped me to just, you know, like, have a good feelings after. So you're reading Monsters, and then, you know, like, just have something completely different to make you feel better about life in general, not feeling so monstrous. You know, so yeah. How do you interesting?
It's dangerous to have monsters as your only comic.
Yeah, it's, as I say, I tend to, I like to explore, and I tend to go to all sides kind of directions, wherever it's my mind goes into. So that's why I like comic book format, I think, that much, because you just discover a lot of things. So
cool.
Yeah.
So was the artist Cam Kennedy? I saw a lot of people in the comments mentioning.
Yeah, Cam Kennedy. That's exactly
Okay.
Cam Kennedy is the basically throughout all the storyline. And who's the? I've just lost the. Who is the creator, the writer? Tom Veitch is the artist.
Tom Veitch. Okay.
Yeah. So
that's
Tom
interesting, because I think of him as almost an underground cartoonist.
So maybe that's why they created this. You know, like apparently Marvel gave him reins to go crazy. I guess that's what they did.
Or Dark Horse.
It's Marvel, it says in here. Copyright trademark Marvel.com.
Okay, I thought it was Dark Horse for some reason.
Yeah, because Dark Horse had some rights as well, but in here I don't know when it was. Doesn't
Unless
say when.
Marvel now publishes digitally the old Dark Horse comics.
Maybe
it's not important. Whoever.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's interesting that Tom Veitch was doing Star Trek.
Star Wars.
Sorry.
Yes, just, you know.
Well, speaking of Dark Horse, I have tons of Dark Horse digital comics. Let's see, it's not doing what I want it to. There we go. And so I was looking through my excess of Dark Horse digital comics and realized I have this one that I hadn't read yet called The Visitor, How and Why He Stayed. And it kind of jumped out at me because it has Bill Crabtree colors. And I've noticed Bill Crabtree's had kind of a comeback as a colorist lately. And this is obviously older. And then I noticed, it has this artist, Paul Grist, who I always forget about. But I really love Paul Grist's artwork. I think he's a British guy. I think I've seen him in 2000 AD somewhere. Mm-hmm. Not that I've seen a lot of 2000 AD. Mm-hmm. But so this is all about an alien who has been watching over Hellboy for his entire history. He was there when Hellboy was born into our world. And this guy with the green card there is the alien. Mm-hmm. And he was supposed to destroy Hellboy with his magical green card, but instead he decides he can't do it. And he tracks Hellboy and Hellboy's development and occasionally intercedes from the background without Hellboy or any of the other people in BPRD knowing it. So this is what he really looks like here.
Oh.
And I really love this Paul Grist's art. It's very simple. It's very good storytelling, and of course the coloring is very good and helps it along. And so it's a 5-page mini that tracks both him tracking Hellboy's life, but also his life on Earth, where at one point he's sleeping like a hobo in an alley and some men are going to beat him up. I think this is in the 50s. And this black woman who works at a restaurant saves him. And they fall in love, and she becomes, it's not showing there, but she becomes his wife. I'm trying to find a good picture of her.
Oh, yeah.
There she is. So they end up getting married and living in Connecticut. And then she gets older and he doesn't. So it's kind of this interesting weave of stories. Luckily, I know I haven't read every single Hellboy story, but I know enough to see what's going on because they never explain it. They never say, as seen in Hellboy's, story about X, Y, or Z. But I think it's the artwork most of all that kind of captivates me. But also I love the idea of the alien who lives on Earth and becomes almost human and becomes changed by life on Earth. And a lot of discussion of whether he says, well, humans aren't necessarily very good, but some of them have a capacity for goodness. And do they learn goodness or learn evil is kind of an unanswered question, but one that is raised by the alien about us. And so it's a 5-issue miniseries, and it reads very quick, which was also nice after reading Monsters. Has anyone else heard of this artist, Paul Grist? Of course, I'm not looking at the comments to see if anyone's. Yeah, whenever I'm talking, I'm not looking at the comments.
Yeah, they're mentioning for sure the British work with Grant Morrison.
Yeah, so I need to look for more of this Paul Grist artwork. It doesn't. I've seen it here or there. It's just not that common. So here he is, with his wife now that she's quite old, and she gets dementia, and he has to take care of her. So it's kind of, to me, it's kind of nice slipping in the pulp story and some slight. Maybe I like my philosophy very light. So just a little bit of examining of human nature without going too deep. But yeah, this was one of my. I can't say whether I liked Monsters or not, so I'm saying this is my favorite read of the week.
That's cool.
Yeah, and I love this design of the alien. But it leaves a lot of open questions, and I don't know if it gets answered in the endless Mike Mignola-verse books about who these aliens are, and apparently there's just a few of them left, and they're watching over the Cthulhu-like beings that are trying to come take over our universe or Earth or whatever. So what their relationship to everything is still left unanswered by this book. So even though it's, what was it titled, The Visitor and Why He Was Here or something, it doesn't really answer all those questions.
So
the visitor, how and why he stayed. Okay, so he stayed because he had hope for both for Hellboy and for humanity. So, have you read a lot of Hellboy, Milan?
Yes.
And have these aliens showed up in other?
No. I can't remember.
I don't. No, I think it's just the Mignola's way of showing something different, or put, just roll that the same thing, like Hellboy stuff is part of the universe, blah blah blah. It's just some little snippets. He has produced a lot of it, and it's actually quite difficult to keep up.
And they don't tell you what's connected to what. I mean, you wouldn't even know this. Well, it does say from the pages of Hellboy at the top.
Yeah.
But other than that,
And it's such a dense history all these characters that doing their own stuff, and my old brain doesn't work as well to sometimes when I read a story directly after the other, then I see, okay, these two have something to do with each other, but otherwise it's a bit difficult. But Paul Christ obviously does his Mignola style pretty well, as you show it.
Yeah, it is somewhat reminiscent of those brothers who do Day Tripper.
Yeah.
I think it's even more pared down, perhaps.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I probably shouldn't even try to find out if there's more information on this alien. I just accept what we were given here. But it gives us a whole different view of the struggle that Hellboy and BPRD are involved in has suddenly a larger galactic or some other kind of scope to it.
I think all those minis what Mignola has produced is also helpful for people who basically get intimidated by his Mignolaverse. So you have those minis to read and see if you feel kind of, do you want to get into more of the story of the Hellboy? So I think that's also a part of it. But yeah, there's so many of them. Those kind of characters, some of them that you don't even see it in the main stories as well. It's like, especially like somebody who's just appears, like your alien in the storyline. But I've never kind of clearly remember most of the things what I've read about Hellboy, because I do enjoy that series a lot. So
yeah. So this artist did Jack Staff. Now I do remember reading a Jack Staff story somewhere, and I guess maybe he's a 2000 AD character. Yeah, well, it's weird because both you can just read this by itself, sort of, but you're also going to be a little bit confused because of all its connections to Hellboy. But I enjoyed it a lot, and I luckily have I probably read about a third or a quarter of the Hellboy stories in the past at some point, totally out of order. I'll go, oh, there's one by Corbin, I'll read that. This one looks cool, I'll read that. Okay, back to Milan, I think, if you have more.
I think it's no surprise that I love Love and Rockets. This was my favorite read of the week. Reading this stuff here again. I understand each reading a bit more why I love these books so much. And
that's Love and Rockets from the mid 80s.
86, 87. Yes.
Okay.
Exactly. But yeah, you just have to read it. And fantastic review. But
well, you did a video about them just the other day.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe that's why I wanted to show you something else, because again, Terence, who works himself through Francois Buc, or however he is pronounced, I don't know. And you read the first part of this one here. This is not really the second part, but it's in the same the Devil's Mouth or something like that.
Yeah.
And this is in the same vein, same writer, same artist, of course. Again, playing in this connecting America of the 1970s. There's a tattoo artist who has a past in Soviet Russia, and he was in the Gulag and in this parallel universe of the Gulag, where they had to fight each other. You see the color scheme is totally changing there, and what I hope you can see it.
Oh yeah, we can see it.
What Francois Buc does, like I would say, no other show us the ugliness of humans, or how we really look. If we are honest, some are beautiful, but most of us not. And he has some beautiful ones here as well. But yeah, it's a really harsh story, very gripping, very very emotional, and set pretty well in this historic background, combining the Soviet Gulag scene with the 1970s America, and the comic dates from, let's see. Okay, my book is from 2015. Maybe it's a more recent book from them, but I think it's longer around, Little Tulip, because of one of the characters. But I want just to give you some overview of the stuff that Buck does. And this here.
Oh, yeah.
That's a cool cover.
Yeah.
Very.
The pioneers of the human adventure. It's a rap. So, let's see.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
So
nice.
you can see it.
Nice.
And it's a total satire on this guy here. He is an insurance salesman and who lives yeah, the white boy's dream of a jungle king. You can't say it differently. It just plays around with these cliches that were stuck, these everyday racism stuff that was in the heads of the typical guys in the 80s, I think. I mean, so and all these uptight bourgeois creatures that you can't really call humans. Is really, it's a feast for the eye, and very, yeah, it's really totally different story wise. It's a harsh satire on. By the way, this guy here is Pierre Christine, the writer of Valerian. And so he put some caricatures of dear colleagues into his comics, and then you can see them. He started as a caricaturist for newspapers, and you can see this really. He when he can make a nose a bit bigger to make a character more poignant, he will do so. If he can make the flesh a bit more flabby, then he will do so. Or how the word is for this. And this is here his guy, again, this insurance salesman on some different adventure, like you can see here. The German, his German name, yeah, it's totally whacked out. The German name is Horst Katzmeier, but the French original was different. So I'm actually quite positive that there is no English translation.
Yeah.
But it's written by Buck as well. Yeah, genau, exactly. And just elephants. It looks a bit sexual if you look long enough. But a collection of short stories in the same vein. And it's a shame. This stuff here is floating around on eBay for $5 or $4 each, because nobody knows this guy here. And usually the more out there stuff, yeah, it's just not famous enough that anyone reads it. There are some freaks who put their money in and print these books, but yeah, I'm glad that it's in existence. But it's a shame that it's not in English, because then it would have the audience that would have been deserved.
More freaks to put their money into buying the books, like
yeah,
yourself.
exactly.
It was passing through my mind as you were showing it, like, how much would it cost to start a publishing company that just does translations of French comics that have been passed over by everyone else?
Yeah,
I have no idea what it would cost. And of course, you'd have to find some good translators.
Yeah, I have the feeling we should just give Fantagraphics maybe
Yeah.
They would
Explore the translate
that's
stuff
always
for
the
us.
thing, right? Like the audience is the English audience there to explore these. Just on that little tulip, there was and maybe Damien can remind me of the channel because I had mentioned it to him before. There was a channel that focused on European comics, and they talk about the book. Yeah, like I was saying there in the chat too. They talk about the trio of books that they did together, and they speak about Little Tulip. And from what I understand from their chat, there's a lot of stuff in that book that's dealing with these kind of Russian tattoos and what they mean and everything, that because there was documentaries done, and I remember reading a book on kind of the history about the tattoos and their symbolism and stuff. Yeah, that might be the one. I'll search later, Ragamuffin, and let you guys know. But fantastic. That's the one that I need to find next, I think. Little Tulip.
I would
it probably was Comics Alternative. They covered a lot of Euro comics.
That must be it.
I'm very sure that you would enjoy it. This is our main guy here, and he survived the Gulag because he is a very versatile artist, and he was used by the gangster elite in the Gulag for doing their tattoos. And it's not so much about the symbolism of the tattoos, but here and there as well. But it's not the most important part. But it's about tattoos for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
And just the elephant in the room. This book here.
Oh, love it. Yeah, Bouncer.
This is great.
Mine's out of reach.
So, yeah, Bouncer is. Weird Out Western or Moonface. This is out in English as well.
We're right in the Earl Grey library here. We're deep in the rack.
Yeah. This is Moonface is a trilogy done together with Jodorowsky. Who has written this stuff here as well. But this is more Jodorowsky because it's more, outer space nonsense about exploding eggs and huge humans and not so slight criticism on on religion and stuff.
Of course.
You can get this in I don't know the English publisher, but there is an all-in-one edition.
Probably Humanoids. That's where most of them come from.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. I don't know if I can recommend this Moonface for everyone because it's really whacked out, and it's so, a bit esoteric in this mean. Jodorowsky, when he has his esoteric mood, I don't know if this is the right word, but when you believe in spiritistic stuff,
right,
and he can go right there and be, and some at some places I am not willing to follow him anymore because it seems to be whacked out, but he takes the stuff really serious, which makes it funny again, enjoyable in any case.
Could that sum up everything about Jodorowsky? It's whacked out and he takes it seriously.
He's a character, and it's funny. Like I've talked about it before, and maybe me and Earl Grey have spoken about this directly too. Like that's one of the things that I find I can deal with in his stories. I'm not a religious person whatsoever. I think all of it is completely nonsense. But I do find that I do respond to his version of it. There's something about the way that he uses those elements and the way that he talks about them. It's more than that, you know what I mean? It's not that it leads to me to believe in anything or anything, but I just like the way that he uses it within his stories, because I feel that some of those ideas, they live perfectly in kind of a comic or a story or some form of fiction like that, where I can then see it for what it is. It's just an element of the story. And I mean, as for Jodorowsky himself, like anybody who knows me, I could sit and listen to that guy for hours. I think he's phenomenal to listen to. He's got so many crazy ideas and so many interesting things to say, and the passion that he speaks with is captivating for me anyway.
You may know the Einstürzende Neubauten.
Yes,
German,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. They make a lot of noise. Metal thrash punk band, and they had once the idea of asking Mr. Jodorowsky to directing one of their videos.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, bold move, I would say. And and she said, yeah, sure, and comes up with lots of ideas. You could record Star Wars 1, 2, 3 with the money for that, and Einstürzende Neubauten is not really a band with lots of money. So he said, sure, we want to do, and then they said, oh, we don't have the money for it. So really, for the stuff, could we do it a bit smaller? But small is nothing that Jodorowsky is in with. That's nothing for him.
He's not interested.
He has an ego that doesn't fit through any door.
It's true.
So is that the correct band name? I didn't catch it the first time.
Einstürzende Neubauten.
Okay.
Yeah.
Blixer Bargeld, the guitarist, he worked sometimes with
Did he work with somebody
with Nick Cave? With Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds.
Yeah.
That's a comic nerd. I have to look for my Nick Cave autobiography to remember
his name.
Yeah.
Okay. Rayman does not approve.
Yeah, it's not for everybody. 100%.
Let's see. I think it's Terence's turn now, or is it? I don't know. I've lost track of the order that we were doing things in.
Yeah.
Sure.
There you go.
This I read last night, and I only have a few of these Marvel fanfare. I don't know much about the series. Well, I know a little bit more now about them, what they were presented as when they came out. But this one I was kind of organizing for the filing cabinet and found this and sat and read it. And oh my God, I don't know why we never had a Dave Gibbons. Well, I can assume why we never had a Dave Gibbons Doctor Strange series. Holy hell, it's visually just stunning. This was such a fun little story. Doctor Strange is kind of asleep in his sanctum sanctorum, and he's woken up because he feels a presence in the room, and in his house rather. So when he kind of puts on his cloak and goes to investigate, he sends his cloak down the stairs by itself, and so he can kind of just sneak behind whoever the intruder is, some sort of ninja-looking guy. To figure out where he came from, he reverses time so he could see him materialize again and come through a portal that he finds and enters into this dream world. And the dream world presents him, as I've shown already, with Nightmare. Presents him with Eternity, which that page is just, it's just gorgeous, that page. And then finally, what we're presented with is this dream world is actually on the back of a giant who slowly starts to wake up to engage with Doctor Strange. And they have a little, and I honestly wish, like, it's one of those things, they only had a certain amount of pages to go through it, so they had to make some sort of battle, but it's like he wants to have a conversation with Doctor Strange because he's wondering who this person is who's managed to come into the dream world and defeat all kind of the powers that have been set up to guard. And I wish this was like a 12-issue series or a 6-issue series even, where they could explore some of that dialogue. But as it is, he just blasts him in the face and kind of takes off, creates the door to get the hell out of there, and decides he never wants to go back to the dream world. But there was so much here that I wish they would have elaborated on and done a mini series. Man, it was great. And then the last bunch of pages are just pinups, which again, there's nothing wrong with them, but this is just exceptional work, man. I absolutely loved this. Such a nice read. And like I said, super easy read. It's not dense by any stretch. But his art is just gorgeous and makes me long for a day where he did a run. Like I said, even if it was a 4-issue series, unbelievable.
Yeah, Marvel Fanfare is full of stuff that you wish became a real series, but
yeah,
they're always just kind of stunt.
That one is issue 41.
Oh wow! Okay, I didn't even know that they had made so many.
Yeah, I mean this whole series is a complete mystery to me. Like I said, I've only got about 4 or 5 issues. I've got a couple with Moon Knight. I think I might have one with the Daredevil. I don't know, but I haven't. This is the first one I've actually sat down and read. I haven't tapped into any of the other issues yet.
I don't think Dave Gibbons had that much time working in Marvel. I think he had a couple of issues with them, and then he ended up in DC and working there. And I think he never went back, if my memory serves me right, whatever I've heard. Okay. But even then, listening to his interview when they mentioned Marvel, he's like, well, I didn't spend there that long. And then he goes to the subject of DC to talk to, like that's where his fame anyway is at. So
Marvel Fanfare is one of those books that came out just as the direct market was taking off, and they suddenly had stuff they could just aim at fans. And so I think each issue is just kind of a special one-off treat for fans of whatever artist, was usually doing something they didn't usually do. Apparently a lot of it when it started were like file stories that they had filed away in case they needed fill-ins and things like that.
Ah, okay.
And so then they realized, well, we've got some of these that we're never going to use, so let's put them in Marvel Fanfare and see if the hardcore fans in the comic shops will buy this. And I went a long time, so obviously it was successful.
Yeah. I realized I didn't mention it's written by Walt Simonson and illustrated by Dave Gibbons. I didn't mention that earlier.
That's cool.
Definitely. Yeah, so it's fun to pick those up from cheap bins because you just never know what little treats will be hiding in there.
Right.
If you have bins to look at, yeah.
Yes. When you have bins again, Rasa. Yeah. And I don't know if Milan has access to anything like that either.
Oh, no. As well. Yeah. We see.
Oh, we are a day trip away from the next city. Wow. Even though without Corona, it's not as easy.
Yeah, you once showed that you live in some nice countryside there, right?
Yeah, it's nice, but that's the downside. Yeah.
You're probably not bothered by police sirens the way I am.
No.
Okay, so
Rasa, I think you're up.
Yeah, so we talk about. Terence mentioned Doctor Strange. I'll go as a Doctor Strange person. Like what Terence sends me books, and I've never read What If. I think it's one of my first ones to be honest, Terence. So thank you for showing me something different. So what if Doctor Strange had not become a master mystic of ours? So we have the same. So this is Peter Gillis, Butch Guys is penciler. Beautiful. I think it's actually quite intriguing to look at this. But so in here we have like this watcher in this storyline in the beginning where, what would basically he's the one basically kind of like tell you what would happen if Doctor Strange wouldn't be mystic of arts. And then, of course, the Baron Mordo is who took the mantle. In here, a couple of first pages, we have explanation of original story, how Doctor Strange became, kind of like went to the Ancient One and how he ended up in there. But in here, Baron Mordo got the powers instead of him, and the Ancient One was really happy because it seems to be Baron Mordo was like a good guy in here at the beginning. So yeah, it had a really good kick. I read it through in this one sitting, even though there's so much reading to do. But I guess I wanted to see how they were interpreting Baron Mordo as a mystic, like a main Doctor Strange, whatever that guy who has all the powers, and what it would be and where we will take it, the storyline. But in a way, this is kind of a really well told alternative, even though with the way they end it. Well, meaning that, but by the end of the storyline, they still Baron Mordo didn't continue for very long to be who he was, because he was in works with somebody else who basically he was kind of in a way a pawn to a bigger storyline. So really well rewarding read, and as always a giant treat because Dormammu is in here, and of course it's a realm which I like because I am a fan of Doctor Strange, as Terence is. So yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it and really interested. So what if number 40? So yeah, really good storyline. As I say, art is beautiful, colors is nice, and yeah, it's just I had a really good kick to have this and read it again. So, well, not again, but read it for the first time, basically. So, very cool. Very nice.
Cool.
Damon,
oh, you're muted, Damien.
Sorry about that. I do that all the time. I have this week seemed to have read or looked at a lot of stories about Indians or Native Americans.
Mm-hmm.
I read another issue of Red Wolf, mm-hmm. and then at the store I picked up this Best of DC from 1977, mm-hmm. And amongst other things in here, it had a story out of the Tomahawk comic by Joe Kubert about some red-headed Indians. So I assume he's actually a ongoing character, yet another one of these white guys who ended up living with the Indians. And it's just about his adventures with this wild stallion. And then I ordered online and meant to get an English language version of White Indian by Frank Frazetta. And instead, it's a Spanish edition.
Oh, no.
I was on Amazon, and there was the paperback, and I knew there was a hardback, and there was a little button to click for the hardback. Mm-hmm. And I just clicked it, and then just saw the price and pressed buy without mm-hmm. seeing that it said Spanish edition. And then a week later, I got this package from Spain, and I'm like, why do I have a package from Spain? And that's what this is. So I still have to get it in English.
No.
It's weird that there's this ongoing fantasy of the hero as the Caucasian who gets adopted by the Indians.
Mm-hmm.
But that seems to be a common motif. And
yeah,
well, you can see
one
right
of those
there.
Things like Milan was talking about with the Nazi scientist. It's one of those things that just
right.
continues to drive me fucking mental. The only way you can get into an indigenous people's story is through a white guy.
Yeah.
Exactly. And suddenly they become noble because the white guy's the Indian. Mm-hmm. This one is very sexual. I mean, to me, it seems that way. There's constantly
Look at that.
These nearly naked men all over. There's male bodies just all over the place in this.
When Damien, when there's boobies around, you guys don't say it's very sexual. It's just lovely. And then there's a man who's like, oh, sexual.
Well, I could say it's sexual. I don't know. It's just unusual, right?
Yeah.
So if you like to look at male bodies, that's one reason to get White Indian.
Yes.
And it is beautiful art. And, Milan recently did a video on Hal Foster's work. And I think there's a strong Hal Foster influence here on Frazetta. That and maybe, what was that guy's name? Like Ernie Pyle or something? The guy who did all those boys' adventure book illustrations in the turn of the century. Is that the right name? I'm not sure. I used to read them like Robin Hood and stuff like that. And there'd be these lush illustrations. And so it reminds me of that. And it also reminds me of Joe Kubert a lot. Of course, they were probably drawing at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So Frazetta did more comic book work than I realized. So he did all these White Indians, and then there's a bunch of other things at the back, some war stories, some different Westerns. So I thought he only did like 2 or 3 comics and some covers and a little bit of EC work, but there's all this. Mm-hmm. And there's another book that's, I think, of a comic strip he did about race car drivers. So I will get the English language book of this eventually. Oh, here's one. The Scared Lifesaver. I guess about a cowardly lifeguard or something. And oh, some of them are translated. The titles are not in English and some are in English. I don't know. So I'm not sure what that says, that title. Give Life to Save Lives. Anyway, the main point of this was I was reading a lot of the White Indians, and the Kubert one is beautifully drawn, but I am uncomfortable with the whole Caucasian Indian thing. It's just because it's the main Frazetta comic. And this, I'll come back to this Best of DC, but then I read Red Wolf, and this is the first issue of him in the modern age, where they say now set in the Holocaust of today. And I'm going to try something a little fancy here. Give me a second. I'm going to change cameras. But in this is the first issue of Red Wolf in the modern times, and meaning the 70s, and they give an origin of sorts for him. He, let's see, can you guys, yeah, there we go. He was an Indian boy whose whole tribe was wiped out by white troops. I'm trying to find the page where that happens. Maybe that's. Anyway, but they decided not to kill him just because he was a boy, I guess, and they gave him to some white settlers who raised him. And then later he returned to his Indian roots, but he was caught between the two groups. And I guess his main goal was supposed to be trying to stop a war between the white men and the Indians. And he takes on the mantle of this god. I don't know if it's a real god, right here, this wolf god, Oweodata, who makes him the champion of justice. So yeah, here he is with his. I'm still getting the hang of this camera. There he is after his tribe has been slaughtered. He doesn't seem too bitter about it. I guess it's confusing. It kind of reminds me of Two Moons, you know, a character who has been adopted by the white folks. And then his parents get killed by outlaws, and that sets him off on his white parents get killed by outlaws, sets him off on his journey. And then, but they don't really explain, I guess this new Red Wolf in the modern times is his descendant, but they don't explain how he got his powers. But it's kind of this, it's a typical Marvel 70s thing. He interrupts a mugging but then he wonders why they were mugging this particular girl. And she thinks it's because she has a letter saying where the gold that her ancestor, who just happened to be helped out by Red Wolf, her ancestor wrote a letter saying where he buried the gold. I'm sorry, I'm flipping the pages trying to find where these. There's her ancestor who was a gold miner who then got killed by rogue Indians, and then was almost saved by Red Wolf, but Red Wolf, the original Red Wolf. So her story ties in with the Red Wolf of the past, and then they just happen to team up. But he thinks it's something in her photographs, and he turns out to be right, that she witnessed a murder without knowing it in pictures she was taking. So when they're attacked by the mafia in her apartment, he just grabs her and jumps out the window, which I guess is like a tip of what Spider-Man might do or something. But what I like here is she's like, "You'll get us both killed. Are you out of your skull?" And they says, "Oh, I'm taking you to safety here." And she says, "You call this safe? I've never been so scared in all my life. You're crazy." You know, I thought it was a nice kind of play on all the superhero cliches. And then he fights the villains, and then he goes back to get the girl, and he says, "You know, easy now, one step at a time. Just don't look down. You're telling me, oh, if I ever get myself out of this, or how did I ever get myself into a mess like this? You may get dizzy or black out." So anyway, I had got a kind of a kick out of it. It was an interesting variation on superheroes. And it, like with the other Red Wolf thing, I like how they don't, you know, for the 1970s, they don't pull their punches on how badly Indians or Native Americans were treated historically. Although they kind of act like that's over now, and now we can team up and work together. So I will be reading more Red Wolf as I find them cheaply in the back issues. So, did Milan, did
dual camera setup?
Yeah.
Yes. Did you? I bought this new camera. Oh, I can't show you the new
Nice.
camera. I saw something like this on Jared's channel, and I looked and I found one kind of cheap, cheap-ish. It's meant for teachers while they're teaching online to show documents.
Oh.
Never did that.
And I think it cost $50. So it's not too cheap, but
pretty good
Where did
quality.
the
I felt like having one, and I like to waste money.
Yeah, where the teachers gets the money, I usually don't get to pay that much to have a fancy tech like that.
Yeah, that's
Well,
right.
some teachers spend a lot of their own money, right?
Right. As our premier of Manitoba made mention of recently, that got a lot of news here about teachers spending their own money. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
And maybe
back in
some
my
schools
school,
do
actually.
supply these. I don't know.
Yeah.
So is it back to Milan?
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Minus, right.
Floppy time.
Yay.
I've read Swamp Thing, the new series. It should be a miniseries, 10 issues, and I can't actually tell you too much about it because we're not so deep into the story. It's art-wise, it's this photo-referential art. We have a new Swamp Thing here. Wait, I don't want to spoil anything, but actually there is not so much to spoil. But we have this guy here. He has somehow Indian origin. At least his brother works there, and in shady circumstances. And he has nightmares. And when he has nightmares, he seems to be the Swamp Thing somewhere else in the desert, fighting the avatar of the desert, which is the Pale Wanderer. And you get pretty good art, I would say. I mean, Swamp Thing wise, it's a bit difficult to compete with all your ancestors, but it's okay. But that's not okay here. These series of ads that interrupting the flow of the story. I mean, and doesn't make me a fan of this way of reading. But the story here is actually pretty cool because I want to show you this guy here. I don't know if I'm so enamored with the art style here, but this opponent of Swamp Thing, this desert avatar, is actually pretty cool. And the colors from Mike Spicer, who does the colors for Daniel Warren Johnson, is not so bad either in places.
Yeah, that is nice.
Yeah. And after 2 issues, you got a bit the feeling where this whole stuff is steering at. Yeah, that's my take on Swamp Thing.
It's funny because I picked up, because I want to get into it too, so I picked up issue 3. It was in my comic shop close by the office.
Oh.
And I saw it on the shelf and loved the cover because I do want to try it out. So that's really good to hear. I'm with you on the art, though. It's, you know, for the most part, like on just I haven't read it yet. Just on a flip through, I was enjoying it enough. There was parts that, you know, maybe leave a little bit to be desired, but I hesitate to show you anything in here in case there is spoilers. This one's probably safe. This is kind of just the title page of it. You know, some really nice stuff and some nice color work for sure. I'm very curious to get into it because I really liked that Halloween special, that one shot. I thought that was a really nice little story. So I'm curious to read more of it.
Yeah, but this is more tread of the mill horror story with Swampy and this other guy,
I see.
which is
Yeah.
fine by me.
Yeah.
But it's not Alec Holland anymore, right?
No. This guy, Levi something, Kami. He has a different name. Yeah.
I have mixed feelings whenever the comics just transform a character more and more into something that just has existed for all time. You know, Marvel's been doing that with like medieval versions and then Stone Age versions of their character. It makes sense with what Alan Moore did to the Swamp Thing, that it's kind of an eternal avatar.
And maybe it's a good idea to say, okay, this is a new guy. But then again, the Swamp Thing looks pretty like the others before. So maybe they should have changed a bit the appearance.
That's true. Yeah.
Even more. And okay, when I said floppy times, I just have this one.
Oh, nice.
Maybe already.
Oh, I love that one.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, issue 2 is even better, I would say.
Yeah. Okay. I get these comic books monthly, so it and sometimes even 2 months after you, and so I'm spoiled beyond anything. So I almost could flip through, not from all the channels, but because just I'm curious, and so yeah, this is just a great book here, and if it's even getting better, I'm glad. Because of the art, I have to say. Yeah, Ron Johnson is great. Even though I would hope that he would try out some different stories. You can almost foresee that after 2 pages there has to be a monster and there has to be a dynamic fighting scene, and it's great. It looks beautiful and it fits his way of drawing the stuff. When you look at on his channel how he does this, I'm very impressed. But sometimes I would say do something slower, and if you
he is doing a Marvel comic, right?
Yeah.
He can do something slower when he's tired of doing a Marvel comic. But the second issue does have a very different vibe to it. It felt like that first issue was the transition from the regular Marvel universe into whatever he wants to do. And I don't know if this is a 4-issue or 6-issue mini. I'm hoping it's at least 6 issues because it feels like issue 2 was really issue 1. Was the real beginning.
Okay, that's good.
Do you have it on a pull list? Will you be able to get the others?
Pardon?
Will you be able? Are you sure that you'll be able to get the others, or are you?
Yeah. There's no chance. I have to put the stuff on the pull list when I.
Okay, good.
When I can order them separately, but. Then they arrive here, and when I decide, okay, this is good enough, and order the next one, then it's the next one can be out of print or out of stock or something like that. And this, so yeah, I put them usually. My pull list are 4 books right now, so it's not really a pull list.
So same. I have 5 books in my pull list.
This here, this.
Yes.
Oh,
I love that's my favorite book of the year so far.
Yeah.
I don't know what will come, but
maybe we could speak for hours and hours. There's one panel. Yeah, here. Can we just speak about this musical instrument here, or this lady here? With it's so.
That sums up his inventiveness right there. In one
absolutely. It's,
and his science fiction vision, which is so unique, but makes sense as science fiction.
Have you read the manga that he was referring to in the first issue?
No, I've never.
About the guy who walks around. Who just takes walks in his city and reports just these everyday today life. For the love of comics, that guy from India,
he
is totally in love with that. So I thought, these were 2 recommendations.
Right.
I could pick it up and show it to you.
Yeah, that'd be great.
That picture you showed,
that's
it looks
pretty
like animal cruelty.
There's a lot of cruelty to whatever genetically created creatures are in that.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I know.
Like the ones that are on fire on the torches for all
Right.
their lives.
The babies on fire on
Oh.
torch, or what look like babies.
Yeah.
So this looks totally different from Rain Like Hammers.
Oh yeah.
But it's especially with the first issue, you get the similarity between this guy just walks around, as I said it, in his hometown and enjoys what he finds there. Wander in every place, and he looks for the birds. Here, yeah.
Wow.
And it's this walking around and figuring the story while you walk, and nothing really happens. This is very much similar to the way Brandon Graham tells his story, I feel. It's just outer space and it's all craziness around him, but everything makes sense in a way. The spaces are, they're solid, and you have this avatar for the reader that walks you through this place here, and it's very relaxed in a way, in good parts. No?
And in the back of the 4th issue, he talks about his theory of starting with a spread that's just a
you kill me
or something.
I have just the first 3 issues.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, he will enlighten you more in the back of the 4th issue. There is 4 pages of Brendan Graham's visual diary, which includes some of his theorizing about what he likes in comics.
When did
So he gives little clues, a clue in that first issue and then a clue in the 4th issue.
When did the 4th one come out? Was that just this past week? I missed it.
Yeah. I was talking about it with you.
Oh, geez, really?
Last week.
Did I read all 4 of them, or did I only read 3? I thought I only had 3.
No, I talked about it on the show.
Yeah, but you didn't read it.
I'm not saying you read it. I'm saying I've already talked about it. Yeah, it did come out either last week or the week before that.
Terence is sweating already. He's like, "Good on this."
You better start calling those shops and make sure they hold your copy.
Yeah, exactly.
There was something else I was going to say about. Oh, Brendan Graham has a podcast that I started listening to.
Oh, really?
Someone on the show and in the comments told me about it a week or 2 ago, and one thing that was interesting about it is, as he was talking, I realized, I know exactly where his apartment building is. I drive by it all the time. He was talking about his apartment. And when I drive by that apartment building, I think, God, who would want to live there? Now I know.
Some whacked out artist.
It's a brand new, bizarre piece of architecture, and it's right on the most busiest thoroughfare of the city, overlooking the river. And and he mentioned how there was a gym inside the building and stuff. And suddenly I thought, well, maybe his building feels kind of like the spaceship in that first issue.
And he does this podcast with Farrell Dalrymple, which is really amazing because their art styles,
they're so different. Yeah.
I wanted to say that exactly the opposite.
Oh, they're so alike.
Okay. Yeah. I feel.
Well, then obviously I have not read enough Farrell Dalrymple.
Yeah. Okay.
My impression of him is a very different kind of artist.
Yeah, this way of loose cartooning and giving of structure and imagination that you have in Brandon Graham's stories. You have the story, and you have all the stuff the details around it, if you know what I mean. And this you have.
So kind of a similar storytelling approach.
Yeah, and even. Yeah. Okay. There are some differences.
I think I was thinking of the lines, the line work and stuff as being very different.
Yeah. much more fuzzy on Farrell's behalf and much clearer with Brandon Graham.
I do start getting nervous listening to their podcasts. Like, what if I start disliking them after a while? Sometimes I don't like knowing too much about the creators.
Yeah. To be honest with you, I listened to that late in the evening or in bed, and it's pretty difficult to understand all. What did they say about what? And I haven't read or seen the stuff that they know. It's a private.
You're just listening in on a conversation, and it's not organized.
Stuff, exactly, and this doesn't work always.
I felt like I was listening to two guys who went to this prep school that I went to once and did not like going to that prep school, but who for some reason became underground cartoonists instead of going to law school or something.
Interesting.
They seem like
this is the Brandon Graham podcast you're talking to. I'm following in the chat.
Brandon Graham and Farrell Dalrymple podcast.
Okay.
I can
100 years or so.
100 years, that's what it's called. Okay. So they just get on. It's just like, hey, we're getting together, and I read this comic, and I ate this food, and my building, they have a gym. It just wanders all about. So it's interesting, if you
sounds good, yeah.
If you're driving or something in your car.
Yeah.
But it also eventually you might come to dislike. Not dislike them, but you know what I mean. Like they don't seem like great. They're just guys, right? Which is what they are.
Interesting.
So back to Terence.
All right, Damien.
Ooh, my. The big red cheese.
I bought a Superman comic. I can't believe it. And
I can't either.
Not only
I'm shocked.
Not only did I buy a Superman comic, I actually kind of enjoyed this one quite a bit. So a surprise to me on many areas. I mean, the first thing that kind of hit it for me was for sure the art. I love the style in these.
And this is stories. Several stories in one issue, or just one story?
Correct. No, correct. I think it's 3 stories in this one, 4 stories in this one, possibly. Just really great. And again, I don't have much context for all of them, but this first story was when Clark Kent, aka Superman, spent time in kind of like a prison camp, and now he's going and was tortured, and is now going back as Clark Kent to interview the leader of that country. The name is escaping me right now. Who was also in charge of the prison camp and who was directly responsible for his torture. And he runs through a couple of scenarios of what he expected out of this leader. Either he was going to be completely apologetic, or he would say something that would give him an excuse to kind of kill him, basically, and is kind of disappointed with his answer because he doesn't really want to talk about it at all. Really a really great little story. And then the second one is about Clark Kent. There's someone coming for an interview at the Daily Bugle, right? Is that the name of it? This goes to show
the Daily Planet.
Daily Planet. Thank you. Yes, Daily Planet.
The Spider-Man is the Daily Bugle.
That's right. So he is he's reliving when he man, it's so good actually thinking about these stories. Now I'm enjoying it even more. He's come to apply for a job at the newspaper, and Clark Kent recognizes him because when he was a boy, he actually saved Superman from certain death to some degree, and he kind of relives the story about how this boy saved him, and now he's meeting him again as an adult. But again, just this stunning artwork with a really great use of color.
That's the Deadly Class artist, Damon. The Terence.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, that's Wes Craig.
Now I want to get that.
Okay, yeah, Wes Craig. Yes, of course it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I can recognize it.
And then we get a black and white story with an alien coming down to Earth. They've taken color out of Earth, and Superman comes in contact with him, and he's given this little box that if he wants to, he can release the colors again. But since they don't know what colors are, he doesn't know what to do with it. what if we got rid of these colors because they were dangerous to us, blah, blah, blah. Starts releasing some of the colors one at a time, so we get some beautiful pages like this. Yeah, man. And then the final one, so I guess 4 stories if I didn't say that already. Jill Thompson does the art on the final story. And it's just Clark Kent as a boy going to school, and kind of his experiences there and how he feels about kind of, you know, living with his human persona, I guess, and interacting with other children, and kind of taking control of his powers to some degree, but still kind of, because it's Superman, it's a very positive, like he still has this kind of deep down goodness that he is, right? Yeah, I'm like I said, and I think Oddfellow's Thoughts had it on his Twitter feed as well too. I'm surprised at how much I enjoyed this. I really, really enjoyed it. It was nice to. I read this well before I got into monsters. This was an early in the week reading. It's really nice to read some of these sometimes, like when the character is done well. This very optimistic kind of storytelling, which isn't something that maybe I'm not alone in this, but it's not right at the forefront of my mind these days, a year plus into a pandemic, right? So really, really impressive, like so much so that I'm going to pick up the rest for sure. And then there's kind of the creators in this one here. The listing is on the back. So kind of in line with Batman Black and White.
Is it square bound?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, correct. And
I've been kind of avoiding DC Comics right now because of all their price games, but
yeah. And the price tag.
But I hear great things about Batman Black and White, and now this.
Batman Black and White is great. And then the other thing that I found kind of in the same line is Marvel #1 that Alex Ross curated. The only one that I was missing. I finally found a copy as well. And so, I mean, it's right in the same wheelhouse, you know, multiple creators just doing a short story. Obviously, the Superman one is just.
Did I just see Stan Sakai's name there?
No, you didn't. You saw Steve Rude's name there, though.
Oh, okay.
Kurt Busiek, Steve
When
Rude.
it flashed by quickly, I misread.
Yeah. But I mean, in the same wheelhouse, so the exact same thing. I would say that all 3 of those go really well together. But that Superman is phenomenal. The #2 was on the stands. I didn't grab it, and I kind of wish that I did. But I just wanted to try one out just to see if I liked it, instead of kind of committing to both of them, because I was a little hesitant. But I'll be jumping on the second one and whatever comes afterwards. I think it's a mini series again. I just don't know how many issues.
So what prompts you to pick it up?
Honestly, looking through, like seeing the cover and remembering that Travis had good things to say in his Twitter feed, or at least the acknowledgement of it, and remember seeing the picture of this cover, thinking how good that looked. So when I saw it on the stands, just literally flipping through it, and it took about 5 seconds of flipping through it where I was like, yeah, I'm going to try it, you know. That the art is just gorgeous throughout. And I really like the different styles that are in here as well, too. Like, it's really very unique voices, but all done exceptionally well. Like the black and white is really nice black and white. I like the way the alien is kind of sketchy almost, you know what I mean? Made up of some just kind of scribbles and things. Yeah, just gorgeous stuff. So that's recommended for sure.
Cool.
Okay. I really got thrown off about the order of things. It's back to Rasa, I think.
Yeah, I think so. It's been it's a long day, so I think it's my last thing. I'm going to talk to you guys, and then we might say goodbye because, well, quick mention before I talk about something else. Anyway, so I finally done these. So this is the second series. So I started with Incognito, and I finally finished it up at Rebecca Sean Phillips. Really good superhero, but nothing out of like amazingness what they can do about it. You know, like whatever I've read before of them, I enjoyed it more. This one is just I mean, the backstory of our main character is he's been influenced by somebody from the past, and he's actually a clone. Spoiler alert. So that was interesting part, but it's you read it, you enjoy it, and you put it away, but you won't say something like, oh, I'll want to remember after that. But something I wanted to read about, you know, something I had from them. So I definitely wanted what I wanted to touch, touch again. I'll go for Doctor Strange because Terence has sent this to me. But the minute I saw who is drawing it, which is P. Great Russell, I was like, okay, there you go. This was the first book I actually read for when I opened the box from Terence, which I was very happy about. And it is a splendid to look at. It's a really nice story as well, where Doctor Strange was duped really into going into this dimension to apparently to save Clea. And Clea, he was just thinking of that because we having like Doctor Strange is being really into his helping people and doing his, you know, his stuff, like kind of superhero stuff. Mm-hmm. And then they have relationship kind of issues in a way, and then suddenly Clea disappears, apparently. Doesn't explain really well at the beginning, so it's okay, she's disappearing. So Dr. Strange goes to look for it, and he goes in elaborate ways to find who took it, Clea. And there is this lady who is in charge of this dimension, and then I'm now blanking dimension's name, of course, because I'm under pressure now. So suddenly, oh yeah, I'm Lekra. She's the Empress of Phase World, and then this story ensues how she wants to enslave Doctor Strange, and he's basically work together with him because he has this mystical powers, and she has this ability of in this phase world to do whatever she's willing to do. And then you find the background, and we found that he gains apparently she has a sister who is like in fight with Elektra and stuff like that. And it's, as I say, mesmerizing art for Doctor Strange, and Pico Crystal really does that. Really beautiful like pages of art, and especially when it comes to Doctor Strange, which I really loved it. So what do we understand in here? Of course, Doctor Strange finds a way to defeat her, but the way the story ends would gripe me a little bit because I don't know. And it says like there is this question mark here at the end of the last panel, and it says, I take the silence with me as I return home and with prayers to my love. But he doesn't know if she's there, and it doesn't explain. I don't know if the story continues. Maybe Terence can tell me if the story continues, because I would like to know where she actually is, because she did disappear in the beginning of the story, but it doesn't explain where to, because she, the Elektra girl, she just used her powers and she created an ancient one. She like made things like apparently like Clea disappears, and she took that as an advantage to take Doctor Strange if this is her time to do so. But Terence is not here now, so
our expert is missing.
Yeah, he cannot tell me.
I think he went off to that dimension.
Yeah, but so beautiful to look at, especially space. And then all that phase worlds and all that other dimensions. That I really liked it. I mean,
Terence says he's here watching.
Yeah, be right back.
Well, I'm excited to know there's more P. Craig Russell that I don't already have, because I love just grabbing anything by him.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's those.
He's an artist you could see develop a lot during his Marvel years.
Yeah, his architecture is really mesmerizing me all the time. I think the way he's imagining the like that world where she's at, and there's this, when they enter this phase world, this apparently this vast dimension where she's in control of, and then this town or the home she calls it lives in, it appears, she's like comes out of nowhere and just appears in front of Doctor Strange, and it's like, oh my god, she's so powerful. So Terence, you're here now. Do explain much, because Clea wasn't captured by this Elektra lady. Do they have a story continuation in some other issue? Because I want to know.
I haven't read the entire volume 2. I have the whole run, but as I'm kind of visiting Doctor Strange, from what I remember, it's tied into volume 2. So her disappearing, this is like the annual, I guess, and then kind of go back to the rest of the series. So it ties in, to some degree. I don't remember the details though. I'm still kind of getting through those books. And I never actually finished reading volume 2 when I was actually reading it. I think it's 80 something issues, but I never made it through the whole way yet.
Yeah, because she disappears somewhere, and this lady just takes an advantage of that disappearance, and then gets the Doctor Strange to come to her because he's looking for his love and blah 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 and stuff like that. And I wanted to see more Clea in here, because the Clea and Doctor Strange relationship is it's interesting the way, you know, because she still has some powers as well. Don't forget, you know, like she has their own. If you have read more Doctor Strange, you know that Clea has. She's, I don't know what her, is she like, not a witch, but is she like I don't know what's the correct terminology for her powers.
As the Gray Man says, she lived in Dormammu. She was Dormammu's prisoner in the early ones, and then he kind of rescued her from Dormammu's clutches, I guess.
Yeah, but she used the power, but I don't know if she explains her powers where she
sort of has, from what I remember, she sort of has some magical powers, and Doctor Strange is kind of training her in the mystic arts and stuff like that. But obviously she has nowhere near the powers that he does. But I love their relationship. I think it's great as it kind of pops up back and forth throughout those.
She's his student who he sleeps with,
basically. basically.
Yeah. Yeah, but this really nice to see Peter Russell doing Doctor Strange is another eye candy for me, and then thank you, Terence, for sending this.
I'm so glad you
it just keeps me going for like now. Though I read a couple of those issues of Doctor Strange, like I want to continue. You know, like you get distracted by other things you have in your collections, and then now I was like, oh yeah. And then to say to Gore, I haven't yet. I mean, I read some mystery, but now because I have more mystery, I'm definitely going back, and I'm gonna take my time because I need this woman. Mystery needs my whole attention. The monsters took over everything, basically, in my reading. So I need more like time and understand, because I do enjoy that woman a lot. So yeah. I'll be probably talking to you about it maybe next week. We'll see.
Yeah, man, and Mystery just kind of gets better as it goes on. It's such a great run.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did Mystery eventually go to Vertigo or some other place like that?
Yeah, DC took it.
DC for a 12 issue. Yeah.
Because I realized I have a trade of Mystery from DC.
Oh, okay.
So I should. Is it good when it went to DC?
I haven't read those 12 issues. It took me a while to get through the 50 plus issues of the original series.
Yeah.
And I near the end of the original run, it dropped off a little bit for me. Those last kind of, I don't know, 5 or 6 issues or so. It was still enjoyable. It wasn't as enjoyable because the Mystery stories start getting shorter. They don't write a full issue, and they split it with other stories. One of them being Johnny Dynamite, that they kind of bring back this character and write newer stories. So it starts to lose steam near the end, I found. And I have all of the DC ones. I just haven't dipped into them yet because I kind of felt a little bit, not totally let down, but I just felt the steam went out of it. And then after such a hiatus, I'm hesitant to start in on the DC ones. It still looks incredible. The interior art is still as top notch, but I haven't dug into the stories yet.
Yeah. I remember you talking about Mystery in the back matter. You were really interested how they were, the comments in the back of the books, and you were like, they were giving me, and the creator was giving like shit to those commenters as well. Man. And the back and forth was quite zesty, as we call it.
The letters pages are just outstanding. Like they should go down in history as some of the most combative letters that I've ever read, because the creators, they don't hold back any punches. If someone's passionate, they just go full on, and you don't know what you're talking about, and it just gets to a real back and forth. It's at some points it becomes almost Twitter level unbearable, that kind of thing. There's definitely some bad sides to it, but there's a lot of enjoyable letters back and forth, so
Well, so it sounds like you're getting sleepy. Shall I just do one last thing and let you go to bed?
Yeah, well, it would be nice, because otherwise it's just like next day.
We seem to attract people who are knowledgeable about these things. I randomly this week picked up a humanoids book called Izuna, Book 1. Let me make myself big. And it's the creators have names that sound maybe Italian to me, but it's looks like it's based possibly on Japanese mythology. And I haven't finished it, so I originally wasn't going to talk about it, but I was really taken by this kind of art style that's just different from most that I see. And it takes place in kind of my interpretation would be like there's kind of like a magical fairyland that's parallel to the world of humans. And there's starting to be some interaction. But most of these creatures look kind of like wolves with antlers and whiskers. But then one of them somehow comes out looking like a human girl. And so I think she and one of the wolves may be central characters. And then this son of a warlord. And I'm half enjoying it and I'm half confused by it. It almost feels like I missed a previous issue, even though it says it's volume 1. But so kind of like Monster, I'm reading it in little bits. I'm about halfway through it now, and well, it's not as dense as Monster, but unlike American comics, each page does have a lot on it, which is a good thing, but it takes longer. So I don't know if has anyone heard of Azuna before?
No, not me.
No.
Oh well.
No, not me. No.
It's just kind of a crapshoot. I just occasionally see these books at my store, and if I like the art, I just grab them. And sometimes I take a long time to get around to reading them. But this one I kind of dived into. There's a fun page there. Whoops. Anyway, so let's see if anyone in the comments. No, nothing in the comments. Oh, well.
It's an unfortunate side effect that the English translations are often kind of released out of order, and they decide that they're going to shuffle up the order for some reason.
Right.
Because of making it even more palatable to people. They feel they need to come in at a hot point or whatever. So that might be the same thing with that. Like you were saying, it feels like maybe there's something else.
Yeah. And I know there's a volume 2 because it was at the store, but this is volume 1. So I don't know. It's fun, but not like deeply satisfying. And maybe that's often my experience with the humanoid books, because I'm just randomly picking them up. They're decent and they're slightly different from American comics, but I don't necessarily. I guess I should just always buy Jodorowsky or something.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm intimidated by Jodorowsky though, because there's so much of it.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
And this one said book 1 on it, so I felt, as it didn't turn out that well for me, but
it's not always us.
Cool.
Okay, so anyone else have some last things they wanted to show, or shall we call it an evening? For those of you who are at nighttime, I'll call it an afternoon.
I just wanted to say it's great to have Earl Grey here. I'm glad that we could work this out. It's been fantastic, honestly. And I would extend it to people that we have in our chat. If anybody's ever interested, please get in touch with us. I mean, you must know how to contact at least one of us, if not all of us, at any time. We'd love to have people on. I love the chat. I love the Sunday, hangout. So, Earl, if you'd like to come back anytime, please keep in touch. We'd love to have you again.
I could do it if you can keep up with my unique kind of pronunciation of certain things.
Oh, it's no problem.
Okay.
No, it's no problem at all. Yeah,
no problem whatsoever.
And very admirable that you're having a conversation in a language you probably don't use every day.
These are the only opportunities when I speak English. That's why my first videos turned out to be like they turned out to be. I'm really amazed that someone really actually watched at these when you talk slow, and now what's the word for this and that?
Yeah.
And yet you have some very passionate fans of your.
Yeah, it's, I should put out some merchandise, I think.
At least a T-shirt and a hat.
Yeah, T-shirt.
Yes, T-shirt.
Yeah.
I loved when your son had a video and he commented on at least the English will be better in this one.
Yeah, the red.
In the background. That was really great. Yeah.
Yeah, he always picks at me. No, trying to speak English. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
but
that's good to hear.
he speaks much better than me. But
Right. Is his YouTube channel as big as yours?
No.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's great.
Okay, well, good night, everyone. And we'll be back in one form or another with some group of people next Saturday. Sunday.
Good night.
Sunday.
Yeah.
Good night.
Okay.